Hey, what's going on, guys? This is my second video documenting some of the peppers that I'm growing this season. Last season I was pretty successful with the Jamaican hot chocolates. I have a couple of videos on my channel showing that, but this season there's more of a variety growing, and I'll go over those and also go over some tips that I have done regarding some of the successful peppers that I've grown. Mainly just calcium and nitrogen, and I will tell you how I did that. But just to document the peppers, I have 3 bells here in the front. They're growing pretty nicely. Here's a pretty large one right here. There's one down there that's starting to change colors a little bit, and there's a bunch of little ones growing on this thing that hopefully, here's another one down here. See it, and hopefully these will get larger. So I have 3 bells, and I buy my seeds from Pepper Joe or Smokin' Ed. And as far as the reapers, I'll show you those in a minute. Then I have these very large big gin peppers. I mean, these things are pretty huge, and this seed was pretty successful because we have about 8 or 9 of these guys growing down here. There's some more right here. Pretty large peppers. They're actually very good. They're kind of like bell peppers. So you kind of get a lot of bang for your buck with those. Then I have 2 giant jalapeno plants. The peppers were actually larger than this, and we took those off last night, but there's a good amount of them growing here. So I have this one, and I have another one right here. Growing more little guys popping up. Here's some. And then I have a little cayenne pepper that hasn't been doing so well, but there are cayennes on here growing. They're starting to turn color. Here's one right here. Here's one. I'm not sure if this cayenne plant actually gets larger as far as the stem. The stem's pretty small, but I don't know if that's just what the plants do. It's my first time growing cayenne peppers. And then here's that bell in the back that's actually starting to turn. Then I have a poblano plant. It's growing poblano peppers. These were all from Pepper Joe. So I would suggest buying your seeds from a reputable dealer. I've been burnt a few times buying them from Amazon and eBay, where you think you're getting one pepper and you go through months of it, it grows, and it ends up being like a habanero when you think it was going to be a ghost. It's kind of disappointing. So you're better off just paying the extra money, getting the seeds from him, and his customer service is excellent. And this is not a plug for him, I'm just telling you my personal experience. I think he sent me some seeds one time, they weren't growing, emailed him. Not only did they send replacement seeds, but they offered to they let me pick some other seeds as well. So I would definitely suggest ordering from him. All right, here's a bunch of Fatalis. There's 3 Fatali plants here. Fatali peppers are fairly hot. There's 1, 2, and 3. I've been giving these guys a lot of nitrogen. I'm guessing that's why they haven't really started flowering. Although, if you look closely, there are some buds on there, but they're kind of hard to see. So we'll give that a few weeks. We'll see what happens with that. Then I have the Carolina Reaper plant that I actually purchased from Smokin' Ed, the guy who created the Reaper. And there are some Reapers growing. I'll show you. Where are they? Let me find them first. Well, here's a few over here. Let me show you. Right here, here's one, and here's one right here. There's another one, little guy, and then there's some larger ones right here. So they haven't turned color yet, but they do. Well, these guys, this one has that little tail. Now, I don't think all of them have to have the tail. It depends on the genetics of the seed, but these guys, a few of them do have a little tail. and they're very bumpy. Kind of look like some of the, you know, when you look at them, you can tell they're pretty hot. Have not had one though, so probably will not eat it straight. I don't want to end up a YouTube star thrown up everywhere. I'll probably just put it in a pot of chili or something like that. This is the largest of all the plants. It's the Tabasco plant that exploded. None of the peppers have actually turned colors yet, but there are a ton of them on this thing growing. So we'll see. And then, let me see if I can get over here. I purchased some peach ghosts from Pepper Joe. And if you look in here, you can see all these guys growing. Let's see if I can. There's one, there's two, a couple here. They haven't turned color yet, but it's a little bit growing. And there's some more in there, but I'm looking forward to trying those. Here's my plants in the pots. This is a tiny little tomato plant that is probably overwatered and also has leaf miners. I'm not too excited about that one. Here's another poblano. It's got some flowers on it. It has one pretty large poblano. Another big gym with a couple of these guys growing. Pretty large plants here, pretty large peppers. And then I have what I thought was a chocolate bootleg, but the seeds may have gotten mixed up when they were growing. And by the way, I only grow from seeds. I don't mess with plants that are already growing. But here's a little guy, and that looks like a Reaper. So I do not think this is a chocolate bootleg, but that's okay. If it's a Reaper, it's a Reaper. That was probably my fault when transplanting it or something. Another Tabasco plant. Little guy here. Some flowers. This is another Fatali. I think this one actually has a little flower growing. Yeah. Actually, here's a little bud. But no peppers yet. And then here's another Tabasco that's kind of starting to explode. There's a bunch of these guys on there. Anyway, the main thing that I want to talk about though is calcium deficiencies. If you look here, you see that these leaves are crinkled. That's kind of a sign. This could mean a couple things, but in my experience, this is usually a calcium deficiency. These peppers, especially bell peppers, require a ton of calcium. And if you're in a raised garden, you have to replete it. If you don't replete it, the peppers can get blossom end rot. The leaves will look crinkly, and you know you're not going to grow to its potential. So what I use, you can use a bunch of different products. What I use, it's cheap and it works in my experience, is lime. I buy a bag of lime, and I think it's actually meant for, like, when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, it's marketed more for grass, but you can get a huge bag fairly cheap. Put it in a bucket. Take a couple handfuls. I don't think there's any, set amount, but 3, 4, 5 handfuls. Mix it with some water, and you can water your plants with that. The only thing with calcium, especially lime, actually, is you're going to alkalize your soil. The pH is going to go up, and peppers generally like lower pHs to neutral, like 6 and 7. So you don't want to go crazy with the calcium. I've been putting it on like once every week, once every 2 weeks. And to be honest with you, I haven't checked the pH. I do have a pH meter. I don't know how accurate it is, but the peppers are doing okay. The leaves that are crinkly on here actually they're not going to look normal, but the new leaves will. So if you have crinkly leaves and you see that they continue to be crinkly, they're not going to ever get back to normal. That's just kind of how it is. But the new leaves, and this is how you'll tell if the calcium's working, the new leaves will basically look normal, and then you're usually okay. The other thing I was going to talk about is nitrogen. It rains a lot here in Louisiana, and I water a lot because it's so hot. So you're going to constantly deplete the soil of nutrients, and that's why you have to continually fertilize. I use fish emulsion. I'll show you. This is a great brand. It's not too expensive, and the reason I use this is because if you look here, the ammonia, what they call it, ammoniacal nitrogen, but that actually, if you have a high percentage of that, it's almost like you steal the water from the plant, and that's why you can burn the plants. because that, you know, that binds the water, and it's almost like you haven't watered in days, and then the plants will start turning yellow and you'll get a leaf burn. So what I do is I look for a product that has a low percentage. This one has you know, 5%, but it's actually, this is only 0.50%, so it's not even 1% of the ammonia nitrogen, and it's got some water soluble and some other types of nitrogen. That's why I use that. I've used pellets in the past, I've used other fertilizers, and every time I do it, it burns my plants. So I kind of try to stay away from that. But that's pretty much, these are my peppers, that's my advice. I'm, you know, not an expert in this by any means, but this is the second year of growing these, and they're pretty resilient in general, but you know, I think I do a decent job. So we will continue to see the progress, and I'll post another video. Thanks.